All right, guys, good to have you here for this brand new year. And obviously, if you're like me, you want to hone in and make your diet and your nutrition even better this year than it was last year. So we're happy to welcome you. This is actually our second annual New You Nutrition. I'll tell you a little bit more about this program that we created. And if you want more of it, I'll share how you can access that on our YouTube channel later on. So let me start off by saying this. My purpose in doing these classes, why I share with you, is because I want to help empower you to be self-governed. I want you to be able to take care of yourself. I want you to be able to be empowered to know what medical choices you can make and what health choices you can make and what you can avoid. So if I've done that in this class, this workshop this evening, I'll consider that a success. So let's hop into what we're going to be teaching today. I want to look at sugars, fats, and fasting. These three topics and how you can really have a honed in and healthy diet and a healthy nutritional base by having these three aspects in your life. Now, I'm going to start off by saying something that you probably don't want is sugar. Inside the American diet, every year, this was very fascinating to me. I knew it was high, but I had to look it up again when I was researching for this presentation. We eat in the US, on average, 99 pounds of sugar every year. That is a ton of sugar. And when we do this, unfortunately, what ends up happening to us is we end up with a lot of symptoms that we don't want. Common symptoms that we see with increased sugar, we have joint pain, usually because of inflammation. And that leads to arthritic issues, right? We have nerve pain. This can be caused a lot of times by our diabetes, if we have type 2 diabetes. We can have indigestion, long-term indigestion because of high blood sugar in your system can lead to cancer. Our cancer is one of the biggest causes of, it was one of the feeders of cancer. One of the main feeders of cancer is sugar. So we have to be careful when we're ingesting sugar or eating sugar. The last thing is metabolic syndrome. This can be caused by, obviously, by our increased use of sugar. We become insulin resistant, and that will lead to metabolic issues throughout our whole body. So these are symptoms that any person who eats sugar for prolonged amounts of time, they're going to experience, unfortunately. So I want to give you kind of a look at what a unregulated level of sugar in your system, or eating sugar in an unregulated way, what effect it would have on you throughout the day. So your blood glucose, when you wake up, will start around 70 millimeters per liter. And this right here is normal, right? As soon as you eat, let's say you eat around 7:30, your blood glucose is going to spike up to around 150 or so if you have unregulated blood glucose, if you're not being careful about what you're eating. Then it's going to seesaw right back down, and you're going to dive, and you're going to feel that those effects. A lot of times people, if they have, let's say they have like a blueberry muffin or something, or donut or something like that, they're going to feel this sugar high, and then they're going to have this crash. And then they're going to eat lunch, and their lunch is going to be a bunch of rice or something that's a high carb or starch or something like that, that's going to shoot them back up to the 150, 160 range. And they're going to go back and forth and back and forth. And if you look at 5 o'clock, they eat dinner, and then unfortunately their glucose is going to come down very, very, very slowly. And so as a result, look at by 12 a.m., they're still in the 100 plus glucose range, and that's just not healthy. You don't want to be in that range. It's very detrimental to you to have sustained glucose for that long. Now, why does glucose stay high like this, or why does it spike really high like this? Well, a lot of times we eat, and a lot of us have jobs that keep us indoors, or we stay indoors, and we actually aren't even burning off any sugar. So we're eating high amounts of sugar, and then the sugar doesn't even have a chance to actually go back down to a normal range. In a normal range, after you eat, you would hope that it wouldn't peak as much, and it would actually go back down into more of the sub 100 range, right? The longer that sugar stays in your bloodstream, the more likely it is to be converted to fats. So you don't want that. Not only is prolonged sugar in your system going to cause inflammation, but then it's also eventually your body's just going to say, whatever, we got to get this out of the bloodstream somehow. Go put it in fat storage. And that is not the goal. That is not what you want to have happen. Now, there are ways that you can regulate it. So this is a much healthier way that we can regulate. And we can, instead, we can start off around 70 and we can peak around, 125 or so. And this is much more even. Now, my question for you would be, okay, what habits can we actually create, or what can we actually do to actually help be closer to this lower line, this more well-regulated line? And I'm going to tell you a couple of ways that you can help. So we can do supplementation. We can use whole foods with fats, and we can use intermittent fasting to help keep our blood glucose at a more regular level. Let me tell you about a supplement that I love, that I use, and that is this MetaPower Metabolic Assist. This is a herbal extract, and it has a couple of things. It has mulberry leaf extract, and it has berberine. Let me tell you about both of those. So mulberry leaf extract, what it does is it actually blocks enzymes that will break down sugars. And that's actually a good thing. You actually want to have a slow release of sugars, and you want it to be measured very over hours rather than immediately, where we're going up really high and down really quickly in our blood glucose. So this will actually basically make our simple carbohydrates, it'll make it act more like a complex carbohydrate, so that you're getting a slow release of that sugar throughout the whole day. So a more sustained energy, right? Now, the berberine in this actually helps to get glucose to leave the bloodstream. It'll actually help get it into cells. So if you have any type of insulin resistance that is occurring in your body, berberine helps move that actually into the cells where it should actually be utilized. So this is an awesome supplement that I use, that I recommend that other patients that are having blood glucose issues, that they can use to also help get a more regulated blood glucose. So also something that we can do to help regulate that sugar is is eat foods that are high in fat, right? So we're talking eggs and coconut oil, nuts, avocado, butter. These things are all going to help slow down sugar's digestion. Whenever you add a fat or a protein in with carbs that you're eating, it will naturally slow down the process of sugar being broken down. So it will allow for a more sustained amount of energy to be released. Also, when you eat fats alone without any carbs, your body will actually, it will try and burn off all the fat, or excuse me, all the sugars first. And then it will say, hey, I need a source of energy. And it's going to turn to your fats. And fats, because they break down slower, they will give you that more sustained amount of energy throughout the day. So let me tell you a little bit about fats and why they are so crucial in our body. Fats make up every single cell in your body. It's covered by what's called a phospholipid bilayer. It's a 2-level layer of fats. and it surrounds each cell in your body. So it's super important that we're eating good, healthy fats. If we're not, there's nothing for our body to pull from in order to recreate that outside membrane of our cells, okay? Fats also provide 70 to 90% of the energy for our hearts. That's kind of crazy. It's actually really, really a great design for our bodies, because think about this. What if you had sugar as your main source of energy for your heart? Anytime you were low on sugar, your heart would stop. So it's actually a beautiful design that when you eat fat, or when your heart is pumping, it actually utilizes fats as its main energy source. So fats are super, super important. Our brain is made up of fat mostly. More than half of the brain is fats. And that means, and what that really means is all the little neurons, they're surrounded in fat. And so all these little pathways that are going on in your brain, the reason why your brain is made up of fat is because those neurons are surrounded in fats. All sex hormones are based in cholesterol. So if you don't have fat in your system, if you don't have cholesterol in your system, you will not be able to make sex hormones. So super, super important that we have fats in our diet, okay? Oops. All right, a lot of people worry, okay, hold on, eating fat makes you fat. That's actually true, or excuse me, not true, unless you aren't exercising. If you aren't exercising properly, yes, your body will store that fat. But if you exercise, you actually will be able to utilize that fat as energy, and oxygen will actually break it down, and you'll be able to have the energy that you need. Also, if you are eating unstable fats, we'll talk about this a little bit, the trans fats, those are going to cause inflammation and also cause you to keep your weight. But if you're not eating those, then you're not going to be keeping fat, right? So we're going to talk about some healthy, well, first of all, let's talk about some unhealthy fats, fats you should avoid, ones that you want to cut out of your diet, okay? Vegetable oils, canola oil, peanut oil, soy oil. These are very common oils that are found in fried foods, things that you're going to fry. So when people talk about, oh man, I want to go to, or I know that eating out is bad for me, I know that eating fast food is bad for me, people don't know why it's bad for you. People think, oh, it's the butter or it's the salt or whatever. You know what? A big issue is the trans fats that these oils aren't trans fats to begin with, but when they're left in fryers or cooked at high temperatures, they actually change the way that they are configured, and when they change that configuration, they turn into trans fats. And trans fats, and we're probably, a lot of us are familiar with it, trans fats will actually cause a lot of inflammation in our body, and will also cause a lot of other negative health effects that we really don't want. Increased LDL cholesterol, decreased HDL cholesterol. It's just really wreaking havoc on your body. So I ask you, implore you, please do not use these fats. They're not going to be helpful to you. And please don't try and eat out, not very often as far as fast foods go, because a lot of times they're going to be cooking with these, and that oil is just going to be sitting in the fryer for hours upon hours. And when it does that, it's going to create a trans fat. Okay. However, there are a lot of fats that I want to encourage you to eat. So these are great fats. Butter. Oh, here's a nice little acronym that Crystal likes to share with our patients. Bacon. So you've got your butter, your avocados, your coconut oil, your olive oil, and then your nuts and seeds. So these are great sources of fats that we want to encourage you to use every day. Additionally, fats that are found in organic meats, fantastic, very, very healthy for you. Omega-3 oils, these are great. So fish oils, these are so healthy for your diet and really, really great at helping to restore the outside cellular membranes that we were talking about, and brain health, and also helping with heart health. Okay, so if you want to try and remember your bacon, don't eat bacon, but do eat these health foods. They're going to be way better for you. Okay, I'm gonna move on here. Now, when you're transitioning to eating more fats in your diet, because that sounds kind of funny, it makes sound counterintuitive to a lot of you, but when you change to eating fats, sometimes we have some indigestion, right? And I want to say healthy fats, not unhealthy fats, but change to healthy fats. Again, if your body's not used to it, so you might end up having a little bit of digestive problems. So this is where we get our experience packets. If you got your experience packet in the mail, this is the oil that we're sharing with you tonight. So it's Digest Zen right here. And I love Digest Zen. Whenever I'm having digestive issues, I will actually take this and I will put it directly on my stomach. So actually I was having a little bit of digestive issue last night. I'll just take a little bit and I'll rub it directly on my belly. You can also take this internally to help with digestive issues, any type of upset. So this has peppermint, this has fennel, this is ginger. These oils are going to help with the digestive process, on some of those fats, and ease the discomfort that you're having from any of those fats. So anyone have their experience packet and they want to tell us, if you're brave enough, you can taste it. I'm going to actually taste it on my tongue. Nice and strong. If you don't, if you want, it'll actually open up your nasal passageways too, because it's got quite a bit of peppermint in it too. So that's one that I love, is Digest Zen. Okay, now fasting. There's a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about fasting, what fasting is, and what it can do for us and how it helps us. And I want to talk with you a little bit about what that looks like and why fasting is helpful, and particularly using fats while we fast. Okay, so when we fast, when we do intermittent fasting, which we're going to go into in a little bit, but we actually dampen those up and down sugar spikes. We're moving closer to ketosis. If you're familiar with ketosis, basically what it is your body using your fat as opposed to your sugars for your main source of energy. When we eat fats, we are satiated longer. And we talked about this because it takes longer for the fats to break down. Your body will actually respond to this and say, oh, I still have food. I don't need to eat right now. I can go longer periods without eating. So I would recommend, whenever you're trying to get into a fasting state, in intermittent fasting, please use fats with you. Use the bacon fats that we were talking about, because this is going to help you stay closer to that ketosis state, and also being able to decrease your amount of sugars that you have in your system. So I want to talk a little bit about intermittent fasting, okay? And why I use intermittent fasting. To start out, I want to tell you what happened to me with intermittent fasting. So this past year, I was at the beginning of, it was actually a little bit into last year, I was at 172 pounds, and I was not, I didn't feel right at 172 pounds, even though my diet really hadn't changed too much. I didn't feel quite right. I used some supplements, and if you're interested about those, I can tell you more about those supplements. You know, message me or reach out to someone who invited you. But I used some supplements, and I basically lost 2 inches of around my waist within a couple of months. But I still didn't lose weight. And a key factor that I integrated in was intermittent fasting. And to put it quite simply, I want to tell you what intermittent fasting is. It's just using time restriction when you're eating, and that's short and sweet. But I want to tell you what happens when you use that time restriction. So when we eat, what we want to try and do is we want to optimize insulin. We want to be able to use insulin to its fullest, and we want our bodies to accept insulin to get sugar into our cells. Okay, so what that means is the insulin. Let me just back up. Insulin is used to as a basically a escort or friend to show sugar where it's supposed to go. It'll unlock a door into the cells. So we can create insulin resistance, unfortunately, by eating too much sugar, and the cells say, "Hey, I don't want any more of this." But when we do intermittent fasting, when we take times of break from eating, we actually increase the ability of insulin to be able to act on our cells, and as a result, we're able to get sugar into the cells to be able to be utilized. Intermittent fasting also helps us use fat stores, because as the carbs decrease, our body says, "Hey, I want to use those fat stores as energy," and you're going to have a lot more energy throughout the day, more consistently than you are when you eat like many times throughout the day, or if you're eating the whole time. Okay, let me talk a little bit about types of intermittent fasting. So we're going to go over 3 types. There is time restriction, there is periodic, and there is alternate day. I'm only going to just touch on periodic and alternate day and focus most of my time on time restriction. I found that to be very effective with myself and also with patients. So let me go over periodic and alternate day, and then we'll go a little bit more deeply into time restriction. So periodic would mean you just choose a couple of days a week that you're going to fast. And that has been shown to be pretty effective. I don't think it's sustainable long-term personally, because I feel like people will always make excuses why they don't want to do fasting anymore. Why I'm okay. I don't, I'm going to fast, a couple days. Well, I'll start tomorrow. Well, so I feel like it's not very sustainable. Alternate day is a little bit more sustainable. It's quite frankly what it says, every other day. So you're going one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. And that is, you're restricting your eating periods to one day, and then you won't eat the next day and you'll only do liquids. Again, I don't think that's the healthiest way. I think there's a much healthier way, and that's the time restriction. So time restricted intermittent fasting, there are a couple ways, but I like the circadian rhythm way. That is a 12-12. You can also go to a 14-10 or 16-8. Let me explain what those are. 12-12 just means you're fasting for 12 hours and you're eating for 12 hours, but you keep it within that window. My recommendation would be that you get worked down to a 14-10 or a 16-8. Those are way more effective. Now, what this does is it makes it so you're only eating during the waking hours and during your most active times of the day. Okay. So what this could look like would be, hey, I'm going to start eating. So for instance, I don't eat until 9 a.m. Some people don't eat till 10 a.m., but I go 9 to 7. That's my eating window. And I want to make sure that I'm only eating on a 1 hour period. So this is what I do, or what you can do. So you can eat from 7 to 7. That would be a 12-hour window, right? So a 7 to 7, this is what I would recommend starting out with. And you only want to do a 1 hour window max, meaning you're not going to snack throughout the day. You're only going to eat. So you're going to eat your breakfast, and then you're going to eat your lunch, and you're only going to do those and nothing in between. Now, when you start doing this, you're going to get hungry. I can guarantee it. I did. I needed help. And when I started feeling hunger pangs, I used this oil. It's a MetaPower oil. It is a blend of different essential oils, and this helps satiate my my appetite, which is really, really cool. It's a teeny little beadlet, and I would just pop 1 or 2 of those, and I still do that, right? Especially if I'm trying to stop myself from eating at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then I'll go ahead and pop one of those beadlets in, and it'll help me make it through the rest of the day. Okay. Now, here are some don'ts, things that you don't want to do when you are doing intermittent fasting. You do not want to eat before, or excuse me, within 3 hours of sleeping. So if you go to sleep at 10, you don't want to eat after 7 o'clock. Okay. The reason why is because of what we talked about before. If you have the graph before, if you eat too late in the day, your blood sugar isn't going to have a chance to actually get back down to a normal level because you're not burning any energy being awake and moving. Okay. Also, I would also recommend don't have your biggest meal be at the end of the day. Try and have your lunch be your largest meal. That's when you're most awake. That's when you're using most of your energy, and you have the longest period to try and utilize that sugar most effectively. Again, I already went over this, but do not snack throughout the day. If you're trying to get into the habit of doing intermittent fasting, I would, and you're struggling, I would try and eat nuts. Just have a bag of nuts that you snack on if you get really, really hungry. And then also you can use the oils like we talked about, right? I also would not recommend starting out fasting longer than a 14-hour period. It's just not wise to do that right off the bat. You need to ease into this. And I actually have a way to help you transition into that. So this is a kind of just a simple plan that you could follow to be able to do intermittent fasting. Here you can look at month 1, you can go eating from 7 to 7. So you're just doing a 12-12, and you're doing Monday through Friday, and then you say, okay, I'm reserving my Saturdays and Sundays to just eat how I normally eat. And honestly, Saturdays and Sundays can be a little bit tricky because we're out doing activities, we're out with the kids, we're out doing whatever, and we just don't have time to stop and plan out all our meals and do everything that we want to do. Maybe we're eating a little bit later. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky. So until you can get into that groove and get into that mode of thinking, okay, I really need to do a little bit more planning, giving yourself a little bit of grace, I've found to be successful with other patients. Month 2, you could go eating from 8 to 7 and still eating normally on Saturdays and Sundays. And obviously month 3, you cut out the weekends. And on month 4, you can slim it down to 9 to 7. I've found this is actually what I do now. I do the 9 to 7, and I cut 10 pounds. I'm down to 162 by changing just the time that I haven't changed the foods that I eat, but I changed supplementation and I changed the times that I eat. And that had a huge difference in helping me be able to cut 10 pounds. And I'm at the weight I want to be at right now. It's 162, and that's great. That's where I want to be. So, so kind of to give you an overview of what we've talked about, things that could help you. So the MetaPower Assist was something that can help with your blood sugar regulation, making sure that it stays steady. And again, this is something that's going to help with the berberine and the mulberry leaf extract. It's going to help take your blood sugar levels. It's going to prolong the amount of sugar, but it's going to keep it at a lower level. So that's actually what you want to have happen. The Digest Zen is what you got in your experience packet. That's going to help with digestive issues. If you're having any type of indigestion or problems with digestion and moving into a new type of eating, that is really going to help ease that. And then the MetaPower beadlets help with satiation, keeping your diet at bay, making sure that you're not tempted to snack in between meals. Now, I've given you a very broad overview. We actually, last year, we did a whole 6 series of classes for our New You Newtrition, excuse me. And we actually have this on our Healing and Wisdom channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can access those 6 videos, and we go a lot more in depth and help you understand a little bit more how a lot about the mental and emotional reflex that we have when we're eating, and how we can actually stop some of those triggers. So if you want to go more into that, we also go into fruits and vegetables, we go into proteins, we go into a lot of different, we go into grains. So we go into a whole bunch of ways to revamp how you eat. So if that's something that interests you, love to redirect you to the YouTube channel to be able to give you a little bit more information that way. Now, I'm going to open up for questions in just a second, but before I do, I wanted to just remind you that next month, we've got our next workshop, or excuse me, not next month, the end of this month on the 23rd. Our nurse, Stacy Jackson, is going to be teaching us how to do blood work. I'm really excited for this class because it's going to be able to help you understand, hey, I want to know what my blood work is actually saying. I don't want to just go to my annual physical and have my doctor tell me, well, this is what your blood work says. She's actually going to teach you how to read your blood work, some of the nitty gritty about how to know what your doc's actually talking about, and also how you could actually pull your own blood work and be able to check in on yourself. So that'll be a really cool class. We're excited to be able to share that with you.